Then when I'll ask you questions. So I don't want that, right? So I'll be creating an assignment with the deadline. That is, you need to submit it before. Okay, just a second, guys. Is my screen visible? Everyone, those who are online, is my screen visible? Yes or no? Online students, kindly give the acknowledgement. Is my screen visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay, fine. So we discussed last time about Spring MVC, right? And we started our discussion with the architecture. And we said there are more than 20 modules, and the major advantages of the Spring MVC is to provide you modularization by having the loose coupling among the modules, right? So when I say loose coupling among the modules, I mean that each and every part of your software will be separate from each other. You can divide your entire project into the different modules which are object oriented. Specifically, when I say Spring, we focus more on the objects in the terms of bin class, and we say that for that we will have the POJOs. Fine. Along with that, we discussed that Spring is a lighter weighted framework. It is having the predefined template. It provides a loose coupling, right? Easy to test and lighter weighted because of the modularization. Along with that, I discussed the architecture with data access and integration module. We said we have web MVC and remoting. As well, we do have the miscellaneous. And I guess we were, are we done with all the modules or we were left over with any one of this? We are done, right? Guys, kindly acknowledge because I'm not sure. I'm done with the entire, I guess, yes. And then we discuss about the IOC also. What is IOC? We are done with the IOCs also. What is IOC? Everyone, what is IOC? IOC is a Spring container. And when I say it's a Spring container, it means like it will take care or it will take the responsibility of managing the bin lifecycle, creating the objects, wiring them together in order to achieve the functionality. And we discussed last time that we are having the POJO classes and the metadata. And I said metadata is data about data, and usually in all the advanced framework, it will be given as on your XML file. Fine. So today we will discuss further how we can go with that. And we discussed that IOC containers are used to have the dependency injections in your application. And I said, yeah, this two application container we also discussed, which is there available with the Spring. We say Spring bin factory container and Spring application context container. Along with that, I have shown you how the code could be the tightly coupled, and this was the example which we created. We discussed, and I said this code is tightly coupled because the dependency among the address and the employee is high, right? And we said that DI, dependency injection, which could be implemented with the help of IOC container available in the Spring framework, you can apply the loose coupling. And when I say we are going to apply the loose coupling, basically we are going to remove the dependencies which are there among the programming code in the terms of object creation. Because when you are creating an object, you are wiring them together to work together to achieve the functionality. And when we do the loose coupling, again, as I said, it will be easier to test and maintain, right? So look at the example. We have a class employee, and in that we have created an address object. And in the constructor of employee, we have instantiated. Instantiation is about creating the memory or assigning the values. So it could be either default constructor or parameterized constructor to create an object of your Pojo. What is Pojo? What is Pojo? Pojo. What is the full form? Okay, plain old Java object is your Pojo, and it is the class. We call it as a bin also in Spring, which is the backbone of your application. So look at here. When I say dependency injections, what we are doing is the inversion of a control is the scenario where we are taking care of where to put the objects. Fine. And in Spring, when we create such object, usually the object creation responsibility is about how your dependency will be injected, how we will define that dependency among the objects or modules. Fine. So there are two ways to apply these dependency. We can give it either in the form of an XML file, or we can go with the annotations, right? XML files, as I said, it is the metadata. Just before few minutes, we said that your IOC container takes the POJO and metadata in the input, then it manages the object creation or object lifecycle, and then ultimately it will wire them together and we'll have a ready to use application. Now I'm saying that these IOC container applies the DI either mentioning the details inside an XML file or by giving the metadata. What is metadata? And that metadata could be represented in XML or annotation. What is that annotation? Have you used annotation ever? No? @override. We use in servlet lifecycle. Whenever you are writing @ and you are specifying what is the meaning of this code, that's called annotation. Annotation is a special property which was introduced by Java in order to make your containers aware, or in order to make your JRE and your compiler aware about how to treat this code. So when I'm writing @override in servlet lifecycle, I'm mentioning that this is the method which is belonging to some parent class where O is capital. @override. Though it's not compulsory in the servlet, but when we are going with the Hibernate, we said that we can remove the HBM file. What is HBM file? In Hibernate, we said we can remove the HBM file. Look, guys. What is Hibernate and what are the Hibernate annotations that we have used? @
All right.
everywhere guess will not work. Okay, one more question. What are the XML files that we are maintaining in Hibernate? This type of questions will be there. Somebody was asking me, can you give me the important questions?
No, I was
Okay, okay, few were like disappeared. અચ્છા એ નથી પણ તમે તો સાથે હતા ને when crime is happening like anyway. So in Hibernate we have two XML files. We call it as an HBM and CFG. Do you recall that? Hibernate.cfg.xml. I said per application it will be one. If you have multiple databases, then you will have number of databases. That might be CFG, configuration file. But I said HBM file, which maps your Java object with the table. As many objects as you have in your application, that many HBM files will be there. So if in my project I have 35 objects, I need to design or write the code for 35 HBM, Hibernate mapping file, right? So to remove that burden, we can go with the annotations, and we said at the rate entity, at the rate column, at the rate table. Do you recall that? Do you recall that? At the rate ID, which specified that this is the primary key. In a class, in a persistent class, again persistent class equal to bin class equal to pojo, you can have the getter and setter method and data object member, sorry, data members of your class. So in that, with the help of at the rate sign, you can write it. So here I'm saying that when you want to apply the dependencies, now we are not talking about mapping, because Spring is focusing on modularization in order to have the less dependency of over the object. So we can specify those dependency either by writing the metadata inside an XML file or by giving the annotations inside your Pojo class. Clear? Clear? Should I move forward? Those who are online. Should I move forward? Yes or no? Online students, I'm waiting for your acknowledgement. Yes, online students, I'm waiting for your acknowledgement. Are you getting the point? Okay, Sahil and Shyam, thank you for acknowledging me. We're going further and we're discussing the advantages. Again, Spring is all about the modularization, loose coupling, because we need easy maintenance and we know we need easy testing of the application. So this is the advantage of DI, which is the ultimate advantage of Spring, because we discussed this in the Spring advantages also. Do you recall that in examination people may ask you write down the advantages of Spring? You could write this two in the terms of dependency injection. When you're writing this, mind well, you write few sentences about DI and IOC. Fine. Should I move forward? Okay. So as I said, DI, the DI can be from the code point of view. DI exists in a two variant. DI, dependency injection, is available in two variants. Mind well, I said either we can go with the metadata or we can go with the annotation. Now I'm saying while you create the object, the DI is about creating the objects and wiring them together. So when you're creating the object, for example, just before few minutes, we created an object, employee and address, and we were just making sure but where to instantiate those objects, right? So I'm saying that DI is having major two variant. Either you can go with the constructor based dependency injection. This is called constructor based DI. Or you can go with setter based dependency injection. This is called setter based EI. Right? Constructor based DI and setter based DI. Right? Right? So I'm saying that when the dependency injection, to apply that, when your container is calling the class constructor with a number of arguments, it means that we are talking about parameterized constructor, right? So when you are using the constructor and you are representing the dependency in the terms of parameterized constructor, we call it as a first variant of DI, which is constructor based dependency injection. Fine? Getting the point, right? Let me give you first the example. We'll discuss it shortly, but still I'm giving you an example. Suppose you are making a software for text editor or word processing. What word processing does? Sorry? Bhagwan, Microsoft Office ma word શું કરે એવું પૂછું છું. We write the sentences, we apply the effects, right? And most of the word processing system gives you the facility to have spelling check. Agree? Right? So right now you can say spelling checker and text editor are the two modules of your software. Agree? I'm repeating. Text editor and spelling checker are the two modules of your software. If these are the two modules of your software, we know that we'll create the objects. Why we'll create the objects? Because if in your system you have installed this word processing, you would make different reports. For example, something for tutorial submission of tutorial submission of AJP, you'll make different documents, right? And each and everywhere you need spelling check. So what does it mean? Text editor. Each report when you're making, you're creating a new object, and each of those object is containing different value, because in report the content will be different. Agree? Right? So each time when you invoke the spelling checker, you need to have the creation of the spelling checker class also. Does it make sense? Dependency among the modules. Agree? Should I move forward? Okay. Now think about this. I'm saying that DI is having major two variant. These dependencies in the terms of code you can apply either constructor based, where you can write a parameterized constructor, or you can go with the setter method base. Because you are talking about the POJOs. POJOs are the lighter weighted Java class having the getter and setter method. So we'll have a class, we'll have the data properties, and to access those data properties, we'll have getter and setter method in the class. So you can apply these DI based on these two methods. Is it clear? Online students, is it clear? Yes or no? Any question, any doubt? Those who are online. Okay. If you don't have doubts, then we will move further. I'm sharing my screen, don't worry. So now the major question comes, like when to apply this, right? When to apply this? Because when something is given with the options, so we will be confused, and we have to choose the best one, right? Okay. So have you heard about the participation of entities inside an entity relationship diagram? Multiplicity. Have you heard about? Have you heard about? Right? There will be certain involvement of the one entity into the another one, which will be either mandatory and few will be optional. Do you recall that? Yes or no? How many of you are really recalling the database? I have doubt, that's why. How many of you are really recalling the database? Can you explain me a bit about how your entity relationship diagram works? How your entity relationship diagram works? Can any one of you explain? Attribute base, okay. And dependency. How we are representing the dependency among the relations over here is the data table. How we go with that? Those who are online. Have you heard about the total participations and multiplicity and partial participation? What was that? What was that? When I say a dependency is optional, what does it mean? What does it mean? Let me give you a very simple example. We started, this is our college, right? And there are few subjects which are, or few activities which are mandatory. For example, each and every student must have to take or give the mid and final exam. So this is compulsory. So student and exam, there's a dependency which is not optional, it is mandatory. Each and every student has to give mid-sem exam and the final exam. Two different objects, student and exam. But we do have one more program which is nurturing bright students, that will be offered to you soon. And I'm dealing with Java in that program. So what we do is we train students for interview, and we give a project, we give certain certifications of Oracle and Microsoft, and they get trained for the final interviews. This is not mandatory. This is optional. This is optional, right? And not only me, we are having different groups. One group is working with machine learning, one group is working with cloud application, one is working with Google app application, and there are a few students who are not interested in programming. So for them, we have UI and UX group. Yeah, we do have. So what I'm saying is, this is optional. We are not keeping it mandatory. If students want, they can join us. I have more than 20 students. We are not going more than 30 because it will be hard to train them. So this is optional. Are you getting? Right? What I'm saying is, technical club or nurturing students for particular domain, Java or Google or whatever, it's not compulsory for all the students. If you are interested and if faculty feels you are having the caliber or your interest is much, we are not checking at all how much you are good with the programming. We are saying how much you are desperate to learn that programming. Fine. So based on that, we choose the students. So what I'm saying is, this is optional. This is optional. Are you getting now what is mandatory? Right? Student and the club activity is optional. It is not total participation. Not all the students will take part in the club activity, technical club activity. But when I'm saying about exams, there is no option. Student has to compulsorily give the exam. Agree? Right? Can you read the last paragraph? We say that at times you can mix both, but it is good rule, some thumb rule to choose which one to apply when. So constructor based argument is good for the mandatory dependency. When something is like you can't avoid, when something is mandatory. Why? Because you see, when you are applying the constructor base in employee and address, we have seen that instantiation of the address or employee, if it is failing, the instantiation of the address will also fail. Somehow it's little bit tight comparatively. Comparatively, it is little bit tight. If object creation of one class object is getting failed, the another one will also get failed. But this is good when we have certain dependencies which are mandatory. So this is the thumb rule. For the mandatory dependencies, we can go with the constructor base, and when we have optional, you can read out here. When we have third line I'm talking. When we have setter method based dependencies over here, everyone, those who are here, setter method based dependency, at that time it is good to go with the, when we have optional dependency, at that time it is good to go with the setter method based system. Is it clear? This is the thumb rule. Fine. If I am the examiner, I can ask this question in a MCQ or one liner. Right? Fine. So because of the DI principle, how we should place or how we should apply the dependency, or how we have to wire the object together. This is called object wiring, connecting one object with another one. The code will be more clearer because of the DI principle as well. The decoupling is more effective when the objects are provided their dependency. If you want to decouple the things, it will be very easy when you are knowing what is the type of dependency which we have applied over here, right? And when decoupling is easy, unit testing the individual module and functionality will be easy, right? As well, from the maintenance point of view, if you want to change something, for example, let us suppose up till now you were using CC Avenue, which is payment gateway, and now you realize that you don't want to go with the CC Avenue, you want to go with some PayPal or Paytm kind of payment gateways. So what you can do is you can remove that. So removing an module is called the decoupling. It's called decoupling. Is it clear? Right? Should I move forward? Sure? Okay then. क्या plug છે ઈવા કે નથી? Look at here on the screen and think about the dependency. You're seeing the dependencies provided. We have two class objects over there. We have two class objects. I gave you the example, text editor and spelling checker, right? Text editor and spelling checker. So, as I said that most of the word processing system or text editor nowadays provides the facility of spelling check. So spelling checker is a module. Fine? It's a module. So think about the dependencies. What we have done over here is we have public class text editor, right? And then we have created inside that, I'm talking about first paragraph. First, which is there at your right hand side, right? I'm saying public class text editor, private spelling checker. I'm creating an object spelling checker, and I said public text editor, and then spelling checker is equal to new spelling checker. So this is object creation, right? Right? So here what we are doing is, here we are creating the dependencies between the object of spelling checker and your text editor class object, right? Now think about the second one, the second paragraph. Can you see the code line? Public class text editor, private spelling checker, creating the object spelling checker. Now I am applying the object created as an argument. Can you see that? Right? Right? And I said, I instantiated it. This dot spelling checker is equal to spelling checker. I hope you are aware about the power of this keyword in your core Java. Can anyone explain me when I'm writing new and when I'm writing this, what is the difference? Anyone, those who are online, those who are here. When I'm writing new and when I'm writing this, what is the difference? Yes, students, quickly. This pointer out to somebody is saying this pointer out to. As per my knowledge, Java does not support pointer. હું જાવાનું પૂછું છું કે તમે કોર જાવામાં this શીખી ગયા. What is this? This dot.
Global. When we have two same objects name, then this will be used in that same class, and if you want to apply global variable, then this will be.
I mean, what does it make any sense when we are just a spelling name? Right now, understand. Look at here, guys. I want you to focus on the second code. What we are saying is, you are passing an object as an argument to this constructor, right? What does it mean? You have created object already. You have already created the object. Then you are writing this dot spelling checker. You are talking about current instance. Do you recall that this keyword is used to instantiate the current object, the one which you have created right now, right? When you are dealing with the current object with the help of this dot spelling checker, it is assigning the value. As you said, when we have same name, actually it's same name, but the meaning is the value of this is coming from somewhere else. It is coming from somewhere else. It means that creation of this has happened outside, and as the creation has happened outside, we are having less dependency. And you see here, you are writing a text editor first paragraph, everybody, where we have default constructor, no argument and constructor. What we are doing is we are saying spelling checker is equal to new spelling checker. You are creating an object of spelling checker while creating the object of text editor, because default constructor gets invoked at the time of object creation. So if text editor object creation fails, the creation of text spelling checker will also fail, right? But here in the scenario of inversion control, IOC, we are going with the constructor based dependency, and that's why this is loosely coupled code. loosely coupled code. Dependency is comparatively less. Dependency is there, of course, it is there. And that's why we said optional and mandatory dependencies. Right? Is it clear? Is it clear? Should I move forward? If you have doubts, you can ask. To understand this chapter, I feel you should have the clear idea about chapter number 6, Balaguru Sami C++. You learn the types of constructors over there. Have you learned the C++? I mean, I really doubt. Okay, everyone. So, the scenario which we discussed here is about uh, dependency injection, which we said here the text editor should not worry about the spelling checkers implementation, right? And spelling checkers implementation is independently done and it will be provided to text editor at the time of instantiation. When I'm saying instantiation, I'm talking about assigning value to the object. If you recall the starting lectures of AJP, I took a revision lecture of Java where I explained class is a collection of data members and method. I said object is an variable of a class type, and I said instance, the object, if it is value holding the values, we call it as instance. We call it as a instance. So instantiation is the process of applying values to your object. Okay, fine. So this entire process is getting controlled by your Spring framework. Fine. Okay, should I move forward, everyone? Should I move forward? Now we are up till now what we did is we have just cleared the background, what Spring framework is and what all it supports. Now we are focusing on how to create the Spring application, right? If you are working with the Spring, how to create the very first Spring application. As I told you, the Spring works on the MVC architecture. You can see on the screen there is MVNC. M stands for model, V stands for view, and C stands for controller. Over here, the things are given in the terms of, when I say model, we are talking about Java Bin or Pojo classes, right? All the classes which supports the, not the business logic, but data holding, right? At that time, we call it as a model, right? View and controller are given as an package class. Now onwards, your view and controller, you are not writing in the terms of, recall the MVC. In MVC, what we did? In MVC, we had Java bin class, if you recall. JSP colon use bin, do you recall that? I talk about one class user details. And with the help of JSP colon set property and JSP colon get property, we have set the methods of, we have set the data members of your bin class. JSP action tags. Fine. So there we were writing by our own. So view was JSP file which we wrote. Model was use bin class which we wrote. And in as a controller, you can apply the business logic either in the any Java class, or in our case it will be servlet. Fine. So this is how we applied MVC in JSP. Fine. But now what I'm talking is, I'm talking about view of your Spring framework. So you can see here, view is given as a class in org.springframework.web.servlet.view. Similar way, the controller, which is your Java class which handles the business logic, it is being given in Spring as org.springframework.web.servlet.mvc.controller. Fine? Fine? Now look at the diagram. How the things are happening. First of all, we say one event will be passed to the controller. In examination, you may have the question, what is event? What is event? Have you learned about events in your core Java? Events in core Java. That green circle event. Have you learned about the events? Yes. What is event? You are right. Go ahead, Sakshi. Go ahead.
It is an action which occur based on some particular task.
Particular
Task.
class.
Or no, class nahi. Based on task.
Task.
or
Okay.
task.
Okay. We, in a simple word, we say action performed by user over the object is called event. I'm repeating. Action performed by user over the object is called the event. For example, if user is clicking on the hyperlink, it's an event. If user is clicking on a button, it's an event, right? So through the event, request will be initialized. The first request comes always from the user side. So either you'll type an URL. This is how we access the websites, right? We are talking about Spring MVC. It could be any desktop based application or it could be web application. Spring supports both, right? So when I say Spring Web MVC, it would be either URL typing or it could be any hyperlink click. This is the event. I'm repeating again. Event is an action performed by user to request certain resources. Fine. When you click a hyperlink, it will go through the internet or World Wide Web to your server, and from the server, it will identify view resolver which resource has been requested. And in Servlet, it was done by your web.xml from the URL pattern. Do you recall that? From the URL pattern slash, when you're creating a hyperlink or you are submitting data using a submit button in forms action, when you click a submit button, if you have marked in your web browser, it will generate a pattern, URL pattern slash, right? So any action performed by user generates an event. Fine. And that event is passed to the controller. That event is passed to the controller. I'm repeating again, controller is the class where we write the business logic. Fine. So if you are doing the login check using Google, entering username and password and clicking on the login check button is your event. Fine. It will be given to the controller. So it could be checking off your username and password in the database. This could be the business logic, which is handled by your controller. So what controller does is, controller changes the model or the view, depends on the functionality. Controller changes model or view. Suppose you forgot the password. So when you're clicking on forgot password, actually the data in the database is getting updated. We call it as a change in model. Change in model, right? Think about username and password is correct. There is no problem when you do the login check. When you're doing the login check, if your username and password is correct, it will change the view. What is view? Presentation layer. What user sees on the screen is the view. Usually it's your presentation layer. Fine. Which could be your JSP page at times, right? Now we are saying it will be treated as an object which is ultimately mapped to your JSP file. Agree? Right? So when controller changes, suppose username and password is wrong in Google login check, what it will do? It will update the view. It will give you the message, username and password is wrong. Can you see that view is getting changed, right? And then you try again, and if it is correct, again it will change the view. It will take you to the inbox. So that is change in view. Fine. Okay, so we could have different view. If spelling check is right, it will go to the first view. If username and password is right, it will go to the first view. If that is wrong, then it will generate the another view. So view gets the data from the model. View get the data from the model, and ultimately model is our Java bin class. Class user, string username, string password, right? This is your model. Model is holding the data variables, right? So view gets the data from the model. Suppose you forgot the spelling. If you are forgetting the spelling, you will update the model. The password value you will change, right? So what I'm saying is, when your password is getting changed, you will receive the message your password has been changed successfully. So ultimately, you are getting the data from the model in your view. Fine, fine. And model updates view when data is changed. Last line, last paragraph. We are saying that model updates the view when data is changed. Very simple example. My username and my password, my inbox. That's my view for Gmail. Your username and your password, your inbox. That is your view. Coming based on the model. What is model? Data of your username and password. Is it clear, everyone? Is it clear? If it is clear, we have cleared the three terms. That is what is model, what is view, and what is controller. Now look at how Spring works. This is how your Spring works. For Spring MVC, first, an event is your HTTP request from the client side. When you click on forgot password, or when you click on login button, or you type an URL, all these are the initialization of your HTTP request to your Google server. Fine. So step number one, event. Controller, custom Spring control class. Now we are talking in the terms of programming. We are talking in the terms of programming. So your event would be the HTTP request from the client side. It means that we will work with the HTTP request object. HTTP request object. Next, what we have is controller. So controller is your Spring custom Spring class, because we said controller is given in a package. If it is given in a package, website to website, the functionality will change, and you need to change your controller class based on the functionality of your web application. So what you will do is, you will customize your Spring controller class. Fine, clear? Agree, everyone? Right? And ultimately, we have view, which is usually your JSP, and model, which is your Java bin class. So model is passed to the server side view, which is returned to the client. When you enter the username and password through HTTP request, event will be generated. Event is button click, which is taking the data. So what we are saying is, model is passed to the server side. Those two values, username and password, will be given to the server side, right? View, which is returned to the client. So your view will be updated from the server side and it will be returned to you. So we will return the view object. Is it clear, everybody? Is it clear? Those who are online. Now this is a bit scenario which we need to understand properly. So we're not starting now. Otherwise, I'll not be able to finish. So this we will discuss in next lecture. Up till now, if you have any doubt or query, you can ask the questions. Any doubt, any question? Anyone?